Welcome to Uncle's Channel. Thanks for watching today. And we are at a point now where Nintendo Switch 2 news happens literally every single hour of the day. It's no longer daily or weekly and certainly not monthly. Every single hour of the day, something new comes out from Nintendo themselves or IGN or a leak source or a tweet here or there. Pretty much new information is dropping constantly throughout the day. And instead of doing like multiple little videos throughout the day, I'm going to do one large video at the close of every day called Nintendo Switch 2 News Roundup. It's going to basically pull in everything we've heard that particular day on the Switch 2. So this will be April 7th, Nintendo Switch 2 News Roundup. Now let's go ahead and start things off by talking about the controllers themselves. And there is some good news here, and there's also some pretty disappointing and bad news. Let's go ahead and get the bad news out of the way first. And that is Nintendo is not going to be using what is called Hall effect sticks for the Joy-Cons. Now I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know everything about Hall effect sticks, but I do know that they work with magnets, and by using magnets, nothing's going to dig into another substance. There's going to be no debris left behind. And essentially, if you use Hall effect sticks, you're not going to ever have any drift inside your controller. Nintendo has announced that they're not using that, and they're going to go back to their old analog ways. Now, they said they've improved it a lot from the Switch 1. They did not say there's going to be zero chance of Joy-Con drift. However, they're using the same technology or a similar technology that caused Joy-Con drift on the original Nintendo Switch. So they're at least opening up the possibility that Joy-Con drift is still going to be a problem on the Switch 2. The only way it's not going to be a problem at all is if they basically went away from analog and went to the Hall effect stick, and they have announced that they are not going in that particular direction. My guess is it costs just a little bit more money to actually add the Hall effect sticks on there, and they didn't want to spend it. They're trying to keep that price as low as possible, even though it doesn't seem that way. They're trying to keep the price as low as possible on the Switch. That's the bad news. Joy-Con drift may be back for the Switch 2. But let's talk about the good news for the controllers now, and that is that they're going to add in more customization for the controllers themselves. And what I mean by customization is now you can actually customize your individual controller layout for a particular game that will load up when you load up that particular game. On the Switch 1, yes, you could customize your controllers. However, once you customize them, it's going to be that way pretty much for every game until you reset it. Now, when you customize your controllers, you can say, I want it for just this one particular game, load that game up, the controllers switch over to that particular setting, and you're good to go. I know it's not like a huge deal to a lot of players out there, but there are some games where you just simply want the controllers to be a certain way, and you don't want to have to go back into the main menu and mess with everything. The one I can think of off the top of my head is when I'm playing GoldenEye on the Switch Online. The controllers for that are absolutely horrible, and you could go into the Switch 1 control setting to modify it, but it's going to modify it for every game until you reset it. Now you can just simply have it modified for that one individual game, and that is fantastic. Also, they've announced they're going to have mouse sensitivity when you go into a mouse mode for the Joy-Cons. So those are two pluses. I mean, we got one major negative on the controllers, the no Hall effect sticks, but we got two positives at the same time. Do they outweigh? You can let me know in the comments down below. Now let's get into some random news before we get to the hard-hitting price news at the close. And the random news here is they've announced that the carts are still going to taste just as bad for the Switch 2 as they tasted for the Switch 1. Not that most of you are ever going to taste it, but if you did, it was a very bitter taste. It makes you want to spit the cart out to try to prevent kids from basically swallowing it. I don't think it really did anything for like animals, because I saw like all kinds of pictures how like dogs pretty much chewed through people's Switch collections. However, it does still taste just as bad. The element that they used was dinotodium benzonate, if I'm saying that correctly. I'm sure I'm probably not, but that is what made the carts taste so incredibly bad. Not toxic, just really terrible tasting. Also, they announced that the Nintendo Switch 2 is not going to have any achievements or trophies like the PlayStation or the Xbox. And I have to say, I am really disappointed on that. Like when I play a game on the PlayStation 5, like it really brings me a lot of joy. Like when a little trophy pops up, I know it's really minor, but it just simply shows like you made a small accomplishment, especially when like a different color between bronze and silver and gold. Like if you get a gold trophy, you're like, hey, I did something that most players were not able to do. And it makes you feel like a little more pride inside the game, makes you want to replay the game more times. And they've announced that they are not going to go with the achievements or trophy system. I believe their response was a one word, no. And so I do not believe they're going to even consider going in that direction. They also announced that if you want to add friends now, it's no longer have to be a long 12-digit password to add your friends. Now you can just simply scan a QR code through the Nintendo app, add friends that way. A little bit easier, still not as easy as like, PlayStation or Xbox, but Nintendo always has the extra parental controls, and so they at least are bending a little bit or modifying a little bit for the public. They also announced, speaking of random news here, Animal Crossing, if you want to transfer your data over to the Switch 2, you can just simply transfer it over with a system transfer. No longer a complicated method here, but when you do transfer it over, your island is going to disappear on your original Switch console, and you will only be able to access it on your new one. So you can't have your island on both consoles at at the same time. And so my wife will probably be very disappointed on that because we have two individual Switches, and I don't think we're going to be getting two Nintendo Switch 2s because the price is so expensive. So we will have to share it if she wants to transfer her Animal Crossing game over. Now let's talk about some of the annoying pricing aspects of the Switch. They did come out and announce that the Welcome Tour is going to be $9.99 or $10 for the Switch. You know, the game everybody thought was going to be a pack-in game. Now they're going to charge you $10, and that just seems sort of pitiful here. If they're only going to charge $10 for it, why not go and throw it in as a pack-in game, get everybody, excited to have a free game with the system? That seems like poor marketing, in my opinion, but, Nintendo has a whole team to counter me on that. They also announced that Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, if you want to get those upgrades, those are only $10, as opposed to some of the other upgrades that come with like a DLC, which is $20, like for Kirby and Mario Party. They also announced that the price that they originally put forth does not account for the tariffs that just went into effect. So if the tariffs do not go away, the Switch 2 is almost certainly going to go up in price. And also, speaking of price, the $80 game has finally been talked about or discussed from Nintendo themselves. And there's like an entire interview with IGN here, and I'm going to pull it up because I want to talk about here. They gave a long explanation, and I'm not going to read like the entire interview here, but I'm going to give some high points here when they're talking about justifying the price tag for Mario Kart World. He said, I would say it's less about the strategy of pricing Mario Kart World. It's more just whenever we look at a given game, we just look at what is the experience, what is the content, and what is the value. But honestly, this is a game that is so big and so vast that you will find so many little things to discover, and there's still some other secrets remaining that I think as people end up buying and playing the game, they're going to find this to probably be the richest Mario Kart experience they've ever had. And that's coming to us from the Vice President of Product and Player Experience, Bill Trinan. But then Doug Bowser, the President of Nintendo of America, weighed in, and he said it's always down to variable pricing, and that Nintendo has not set a benchmark as how it's going to price its games. So what they're basically saying here is that Mario Kart is just such a huge, groundbreaking experience that is worth $80, and there's so much content there. You can't see it yet, but it's going to be there, and you're going to understand when we play it why it's worth $80. And they're going to basically sort of price their games according to how much work went into it and how deep or how expansive the experience is, which sort of like disappoints you. Like when you look at pricings of games, like it used to be, you see a $60 game, it's like, okay, all $60 Nintendo games, they are of equal value, they are of equal length, they are of equal enjoyment. And now you're going to look at pricing of games, you're going to see like an individual hierarchy of sorts. You're going to see like an $80 game, you're like, oh man, fantastic game according to Nintendo. Then you're going to see a $70 game, you'll be like, still pretty good, still top tier quality. Then you're going to see a $60 game, you'll be like, oh, probably an average game. $50, $40, so forth and so on. You get all the way down to that $10 game, like the welcome package or whatnot, or a welcome tour, and you'll be like, that must be a trash game. It's only $10. And so they're setting up a game hierarchy before you even purchase the game of what your expectation is going to be. And I cannot say that I particularly like that. I enjoy going into a game somewhat blind, and I like the idea that they've put all their work and all their effort into every game. Not that there's this hierarchy of games of how much they're going to sell or not. Like Nintendo has that seal of quality. Does that seal of quality mean nothing now? Does that seal of quality mean nothing now? Do they need to put like a special seal of quality on the $80 game? So it's like a super special game and like a really lackluster, rusty seal of quality on the $10 game. So like it's a crappy game and you already know it before you're getting started. I don't know. Like I'm not a big fan of this variable pricing. I like it. Nintendo just simply stick with one individual price for the newer games, first party games, and go with it. I'm not saying that games can never go up in value. I understand inflation. I understand all of that. But I do not like the idea of like, we're just simply going to evaluate a game, we'll figure out what the price is and go up and down depending on that, because who knows how high up they're going to go. They could go above 80 and they're not even simply cutting that possibility off. But this is your overall news roundup, or Switch 2 news roundup for April, hang on, what was the date again? April 7th. But if you enjoyed the video and you're looking forward to more Switch roundups, comment down below, like the video, and subscribe, and you won't miss a single Switch roundup. But go out there, find a great game to play, simply have a great rest of the day.